Hey everybody, today we're going to be making a Christmas watercolor card. We're going to be using the Glory to the Newborn King stamp, a couple decorative holiday papers. We're going to be using the watercolor pencils, some Prima watercolors, and the metallic accents also from Prima, and some archival ink that's for the stamp. Now what you first want to do is get however big you want your card to be, get that size paper, fold it in half. You want it to be white. Press the side so that it's a sharp edge. And you want to do that to another piece of paper. You want to have two of them. Now, the accented paper that you chose, make sure that it applies to whatever holiday you're using. You want to take that and you want to cut it, just like I'm showing you right now, to be just a tad smaller length and width-wise than the white paper that is going to be the body of your card. You can see I'm lining it up right now. And there's going to be a smaller watercolor paper that you want to cut even smaller than the accented paper so it could fit right in the middle, and that's where you're going to use your stamp. So we have the Glory to the Newborn King, and you can take that out. Press it down, make sure it fits. This one's new, so I'm just taking the back off. Put it on a stamp press. That way all the ink is evenly pushed down onto the paper. Don't press the ink pad too hard onto the stamp because you don't want to get any of the ink around the edges that will leave marks that aren't supposed to be there on your white paper. Now take the paper, take the stamp over it, press it down very strongly. There you go. Lift it up, and there you have your stamp, and that's what we're going to be coloring over with our watercolor pencils. First, I'm going to start with the background, and that's where you want to take your metallic accents, because you don't want the background to be the main focus of the picture. You just want it to be really light, and that's what these will help with. And I have the watercolor pen with me too instead of an actual brush, but you can use a brush, any tool that works best for you. I'm just going to go lightly around the edges of the actual picture. Depending on how dark you want the background to be, you can be more generous with the amount of water that you use. And right now I'm just doing the sky. So we don't want it to just be metallic-y, we want there to be a little color in the background too, not just glitter, so I'm using a little bit of the other Prima watercolors. I'm going to choose blue. And the manger scene is at night, so it should be darker, but since this is a Happy Holiday green card, we want it to look really bright. So we're going to use light blue on the top and a nice green on the bottom for the grass. And you can't really mess up on the background too, because it's just sky, it varies in color, so you can use more color in one spot than you would another. If you mess up, it's not a big deal. Do that around the entire top of your page. And then once you move into the ground, you can start with the green again. You can get as close as to the actual stamp as you want, but just know that we are going to be going over all of that and you don't want it to look too crowded. To take a break from that, while I let the background dry, we're going to open up a metal stamping kit. Put it on your magnetic platform if you have one. And because it's Christmas themed, it's going to say joy, like joy to the world. And we're going to press out the word joy. And once the watercolor of the front of the card is done, we're just going to put that right on top. There you can go. You can just pop it right out. We have a little tool that helps us do that. And that's what that should look like. Really pretty. It's also metallic. It will stand out. To do the inside, there's not going to be much, so you have room to personalize it, but we did take a little stamp with a saying on it, and then a stamp of the North Star, because it is Christmas, and we're going to put that right above. Make sure not to crowd the inside of your paper, and there you go. Now back to the front of the card. We're going to start coloring the trees. So you need to get out some water and your watercolor pencils. And right now, just for the first layer of the trees, I'm going to use green because that's their actual color. And remember that this is all going to blend, but where you press harder or where you have a darker green, it's still gonna be darker. So you can use that for shadows. Make the trunks brown. You don't want all the trees to look the same, so if you have different colored greens, that would be best, just to give them some variation, because they're not even the same kind of tree. So you want each one to look individual and unique. Don't worry about being too detailed, unless you have a lot of time on your hands. Now that the pencil is done, I'm going to go over with the watercolor pen and start blending it all. Make sure not to use too much water, because we're going to go over again with some more neutral colors to give it the look of fall and to also brighten up your card. Just pinks and oranges scattered around in the trees can help give you that effect. You can also use the oranges to make the trunks on your trees a little bit darker. It'll give them more depth. Go over the rest of the new neutral colors with the watercolor pencil. You could have done that before you went over the trees the first time, but I like to think it stands out more when you go over the already done colors. We have a heating tool that we're just going to use to dry it really quickly. If you don't have one, it's fine, just wait until it dries. Sometimes I use a hair dryer. It looks pretty funny, but it gets the job done. Now we're going to use some brighter colors to work on the manger. I'm going to use reds and oranges and browns for the robe. Then for the actual manger, I'm going to use some browns and some oranges, try to make it look as close to wood as possible. And because the texture in the paper makes it look like uneven, and that's what wood looks like, you don't need to go over watercolor on the manger, but do go over watercolor when you finish up the little leaves surrounding the trees. Make those nice bright green. Now back to the card. We're going to start gluing. First you want to take the decorative paper that you chose and glue it on top of the body of the card. Make sure that all the white that's shown is even, or else it will completely mess up the look of your card. Then take the back of the painting that you just did and the stamp, and you can glue it down right onto the paper, but we have little stamps that you can put on and it raises it up, so it gives it some depth, which is also, it will work really well. So you can do either of those two things. Don't worry if your watercolor paper is a little bit wavy. No one will notice once it's pressed down onto the paper. And you remember the little joy that we pressed out? If you ended up doing that, take that now and glue it onto the front of your card. Find out whatever place looks best and then go ahead and press it down. Make sure it's glued on well. On the inside, we want to add just a little bit of this glitter. Thank you guys for watching. Everything that we used in the video will have a link in the description. We hope you like your projects, and we'll see you in the next video.